Hi, I'm Jasmine Diavlar,
Hi, I'm Anisa Omar.
and welcome back to our show. Let's talk about it. So today we're going to be talking about protests and
Police.
police riots and things like that. Just kind of talking about nonviolent protesting, what that looks like, and also what it looks like when protests turn into riots and looting and things like that.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with one of the first questions?
Yes, the first question I kind of wanted to gain your insight on is what do you think of individuals promoting nonviolence during the uprisings or calling for peace throughout it?
When we're protesting violence, it's our message is not going to get across by pleading and asking and doing it silently. Like a lot of, especially during all these protesting that turned into riots and things like that, a lot of people who aren't quite with the movement or are kind of on the fence on like how I want to support them, they fall back when they see like, oh, they're destroying property, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're destroying their communities, and they'll start to quote MLK and all these type of like peaceful protests, peaceful protests. And it's clear that those don't work. And when you're protesting violence, you have to meet them where they are at, which is violent. And, I really don't, I'm not saying that I, agree with a lot of the ways that people, behave during protests, because I do know that like some people are there and are opportunists to, destroy things and like steer the message away. And so there are people who are there to just like strictly be infiltrating into the movement and like make it, into something that it's not. However, not every protest is going to be peaceful, and it's unfair to ask people to be peaceful about their anger and about their oppression, in my opinion.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And that's also something that's concerning that I've seen a lot is individuals fix their mouth to address the violence caused by protesters, but never addressing the structural violence that continuously occurs at the hands of the state.
Right.
And so that's just one concern. Like Kwame Ture even said, like any analysis of the oppressed where you don't include the oppressor, you come into an incorrect analysis. And that's what I've seen all summer. It's individuals trying to say, this is our community, like don't burn your community down. But are we even addressing the violence of the state?
Right.
That throughout this entire pandemic, all they could provide their citizens is a one-time $1,200 stimulus check.
Exactly.
While individuals are being unemployed, while they're losing their families left and right because of our healthcare infrastructure, and all you can do is address the protesters.
Right, damage property over lives. And that's the biggest issue, is that people are valuing these targets, these burned down buildings and damaged property and, broken windows over the life that was taken. You can replace property, you can replace the broken door, you can replace a Target. Target has insurance. They will not be even touched or slightly hurt by the damage that was done to, especially here in Minneapolis. But George Floyd is gone, and he's not going to come back. And that to me, there's no leveling playing field. There's no justification for saying like, don't destroy your own communities and don't destroy this, and that. And, back to talking about COVID, this, especially with George Floyd, it was a pivotal moment where people have been fed up. We've seen the government fail time and time and time again, and, not providing for their communities while also killing us during a pandemic where African-American, Black people and brown people and poor people are dying to COVID way faster than anyone else. So,
and you know why? Structural violence at the hands of the state.
Exactly.
I mean, it always comes back to that. It's how, like as you mentioned, how dare you fix your mouth to address individuals tearing down properties they should be tearing down because that Target was known to hyper surveil because it was in an area where it was deemed to be high crime, or that's what they're anticipating. But if we're not ready to address that, what are we really talking about? And also the whole notion of you're burning down your own communities or your own Black and brown businesses. Like, sure, the thought or the actual items or the enterprise of itself may be Black owned, but they're still paying rent to these capitalist ooh, let me be nice.
Right.
So to individuals who are capitalizing off of us
Exactly.
continuously, you know? And that whole notion of progress, like, oh, there's more Black and brown businesses being created in Minneapolis around Lake Street. And so it's going to be trickle down economics. Like, it's going to come down to poor Black and brown individuals, which, you know, it reminds me of the whole notion, like, we're going to fight back capitalism with Black capitalists. Like, that is not how we should think of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I honestly, to all the individuals rightfully expressing their rage up in Minneapolis, I just call that wealth redistribution.
Exactly.
Because Target does not pay their workers a livable wage. Mm-hmm. So they're just simply taking what was theirs in the first place.
Exactly. And, you know, talking about, you know, protesters, but, you know, the difference between protesters, rioters, looters, you know, I came across the video, Kimberly Jones, and we've talked about this a little bit, where, you know, Trevor Noah actually shared this video, and that's when I saw it. But she talked about the difference between protesters, rioters, looters. And, like, protesters are, you know, people who are impassioned, like, wanting to raise their voice, marching the streets, yelling, you know, expressing their anger, you know, vocally, and how, you know, in whatever way that is. And then, you know, you have the rioters who are, you know, angry, impassioned, wanting to destroy things, which they rightfully have that, you know, right to do that. And then you have looters who take that opportunity to, you know, take what is, you know, if there's an opportunity where you can take things that you need and provide for yourself in that way, that might be their only opportunity. And Kimberly, like, the way that she laid out, just like
eloquently.
So eloquently and beautifully. Like, I just want to share, you know, I'm going to share the video and share a link at least to the, you know, to the video. And I really highly encourage everyone to listen to that video word for word, because she talks about, you know, shifting the focus on what protesters and rioters and looters are doing and focus on the why we're doing it. We have, you know, obviously COVID, a lot of people on unemployment, one stimulus check that I didn't even receive. So, like, you know, and, you know, a lot of people didn't receive that. And, you know, she made a huge point that looters, you know, when you see that there's a huge financial gap between poor people and everyone, poor Black people especially, and everyone else, that is their only opportunity to get what they need. They have food insecurity, clothing insecurity, all these different types of things. Or, you know, just in the way that we live in a capitalist society where we place value on things, value on brands, value on iPhones, value on, you know, brand new TVs. Obviously, we're going to take that opportunity to get that because we find that that's valuable here in the system. And there's no other way for us to get it when we're poor and don't have a job, you know? And I was just so, you know, blown away by how she laid that out, because it's really just, it's bullshit. Sorry. Like, it's straight up bullshit that people try to spew at us to, you know, rationalize police acting out in violent ways against the people that are protesting when we're protesting against the violence of the state. And I, like, listened to Kimberly Jones' video. Like, it's honestly going to change your life, because she lays it out. Like,
she also mentioned, like, the social contract or social...
Yes.
Something, I'm not sure if it was contract. That is broken. So if the state decides to break that, why are we allowing the state to decide what they will accept from us protesting the state? Like, why are we letting them decide how far they will let it go? You know, like, that's what still baffles me, is seeing people like, or the Black elites or the Black ruling class or Black celebrities going on TV talking about, oh, like, this is our home, this is our community, don't burn it down. Because you are also profiting off of poor Black and brown individuals. And that's also something that I want to, like, why do we see Black celebrity as being a success for us when they're profiting off of the same anti-Blackness the state is profiting off of in all these other companies, you know? And that's just something it reminded me of. It's
like, Black liberation is not in you getting access to, you know, a higher class, a social class, and all these different things. Like, that's not going to liberate all of us. Like, you think that because you have money and you're wealthy that you're not affected by these systems, but you are. You walk down the street, and even if you're rich, they won't tell the difference. They'll still shoot you dead. Like, what is the point in telling us to not burn down our communities? Also, when you're not even putting money back into those communities, you're hoarding your wealth. You're not redistributing it.
Or let's talk about everybody praising, what's his name, Killer Mike, talking about in Atlanta coming out. also the fact that him and like the mayor, the mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, oh, girl. Yeah. She mentioned, I'm blanking on it. Like, oh, T.I. and Killer Mike own half of the West Side. Well, if they own half of the West Side, why is it that Atlanta has the biggest wealth, income, and mobility gap for poor Black and brown individuals? So they're holding on to this piece of land and they're profiting off of it while poor Black and brown individuals are sleeping on the street or are struggling to make ends meet. I can never celebrate that. And then also, it's the whole, we all need to be unified on this front. Angela Davis said, there are certain Black people I do not want to be united with. I do not want to be in community with. And there's always been that. If you go back to slavery, there's been Black slave patrols. There's been Black slave overseers and so forth. So it's the whole, we all need to come together and work. And like, my success is your success. No, not if I'm still going hungry at the end of the night.
Right.
And what shocks me is that some of these Black elites or Black celebrities don't think that they themselves are a part of the wealth redistribution that we're talking about.
Right.
Like how they themselves are going to have to open up their own pockets.
Exactly.
Because they're still hoarding wealth, still living in houses too big for them. You know, like it's that conversation.
What's crazy too is that the Black community is very, very like individual minded. They're very self-centered, and that's and it blows my mind because it's like we were brought here to build this country. We were here, like American economics is built off of Black people. We were brought here to make them money.
Capital.
Yes, we were there. We were brought here to make them money, and they capitalized off of our physical labor. And then for 400 years, they didn't let us own anything. They didn't let us make our own money. They didn't let us read or write or anything. And then, you know, you have those people that are like, don't destroy your own community. You know, how are you going to ever, you know, get yourself out of poverty? And how are we supposed to get ourselves out of poverty when everyone else has had a 400-year head start and we're expected to catch up to that? Like,
or what makes me so upset is seeing individuals say financial literacy courses for poor Black and brown individuals, like still individualizing that. Like you're poor because of your own decisions.
Right.
And it's Black people who are out here creating those financial literacy courses or those real estate projects to help other poor Black and brown individuals. And if we're not getting to the root of the problem, which in itself is state violence, structural violence, while we continue to see poor Black and brown individuals, it all follows back to the state. So why are you over here trying to fix or trying to place the blame on poor Black and brown individuals? That's something that will always be, like, I don't know. It makes no sense. Like, we gonna lift each other, like, pull yourself up from your own bootstrap? No.
It doesn't work that way. And then when we even have seen in history that when Black people do create their own self-sustaining, you know, communities and they own their own businesses and they own their own property, how many times has that been burnt to the ground? Like literally burnt to the ground or slaughter the very people that are trying to pull themselves up.
Yeah.
How do you expect us to continue to want to do that? Or how do you expect us to, you know, like there's this huge generational wealth gap between white people and Black people. And that's just the simple fact of the way that this, you know, country has been structured. Yeah. Like, and it, you know, just...
And that's what also concerns me. What you mentioned was like the Auburn Avenues or the Black community, Black Wall Street and all of that that have been burned down. It's like history doesn't really repeat itself, but it rhymes or it mimics. Like you see slow increments. And so I recently seen people in Atlanta purchase a piece of land, and like my concern is, okay, well, people are going to come in and mess it up. Like, and the state won't be there, or the state will do very little to prevent that.
Right.
Because they don't want self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
That's something they don't want. They don't want Black individuals to have their agency on their own bodies.
Right.
But that also, changing gears a little bit, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on protests, demonstrations, and marches that happen with where police are involved, where police are involved as in invited to attend or are informed about said demonstration, protest, or march. What are your thoughts on that?
It doesn't make any sense to invite the literal face of our violence that we are protesting, like to have them there. Like it makes zero sense.
Right.
And just the recent march that we went to and spoke at, I was like, why are they here? Like, what is the, like...
Yeah.
Where's the logic, for one? And where's, like, the acknowledgement that Black and brown people do not feel safe? That's just, it's like they're apparently public safety, but the public does not feel safe around them. And that's something that, you know, these organizers and things need to realize, is that, like, we can have people to block off streets. We can have people to help make everyone feel safe. Like, we can have community, you know, safety measures. Like, I don't feel comfortable having police at any of my marches, any of, like, anything that I'm organizing. And I don't expect other people to feel safe around that either, or feel more safe around that. And, you know, just the simple fact that, like, cops are oftentimes at Pride, like, Pride literally started as a riot against police brutality. Like, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. And I completely just don't agree with it. I don't, like, why are you here? Honestly. We literally don't want you here. And, like, and I think the people that invite them in don't acknowledge the hurt and the harm that they're doing by putting people in danger. And, you know, thinking that because it makes them safe, because from their, you know, their perspective, their way of life, that feels safe to them. Yeah. And it's like, it's very clear that, you know, non-Black people, white people, you know, whoever, who feel safe around them, is because the police are there to protect and serve them. That's what their job is. The whole history of policing was to police Black people. Yeah. Like, the very act of what it means to be Black. Like, they criminalize every single act, like, any possible slight little thing, whistling, staying out too late, like, at night. You know, like, why would I want any kind of presence of that around me?
Girl, crime is a social construct, but we could talk about that some other time. But something that you bring up that Miriam Kaba stated, an amazing organizer up in New York, it's like a protest or march or demonstration with the help of police, that is no longer a protest. That is a parade. Exactly. We are having a parade, honestly. Oh, my Lord. But also, I don't think it's necessarily where the organizers are ops themselves or colluding with police. I think they may just have not the best political education or politic.
It's a blind spot, and everyone has them.
When they're navigating. Yeah. But also, it's the fact that you mentioned individualized. Like, a lot of people individualize police officers. Like, we're not protesting all police. Right. We're protesting the 4 police that were involved with George Floyd. Right. No, not the whole system is bad. It's just there's a few individuals who are bad. And when we continue to individualize that, we will continue to see more Black and brown deaths at the hands of police. Like, this is a system built to patrol and police Black and brown individuals. And it sucks that to mobilize individuals across the country, someone has to die for us to be mobilized. Right. But there are 1,001 ways in which police are causing harm onto Black and brown communities, especially poor Black and brown communities, every single day, slowly killing Black and brown individuals every single day. So when do we address that system? Right. That system we've been trying reforms since the late 19th century? Right. And we see the same reforms coming up, like community policing, more Black and brown officers. Girl. But if you look at places such as Atlanta, where there's a lot of Black police officers, it was Black police officers who tased those 2 college students when the curfew was enacted, and it was all over CNN. It was Black police officers who shot down, I'm forgetting his name up in Atlanta, but a man murdered by police. It was Black individuals involved in that. And looking at what's currently happening in Nigeria with the police force, Black police officers or brown police officers are not going to fix a systemic issue. Right. They are still working in an unjust area, which is policing in itself. It can never be made humane, ever.
And that's because why there needs to be abolition. There's no way to reform
it always comes down to what? Abolition. Yes. We're talking about economic status. We're talking about capitalism, all of that. And I get individuals scared, like, police abolition, how? Because, like, right now their mindset is, like, remove police and everything is the way in which it is.
Chaos.
Yeah. And no, we're saying the whole thing has to go. Yeah. Basically, abolish the world as we know it and build something that is just. And that's just.
And people love to, like, say that it's a utopian idea, and it's not. It's possible. You guys are just stuck in this like way of thinking, trying to hold on to our founding fathers BS. Like
all of them gotta go.
Like you're talking about a 200-some old like document, a piece of paper where we weren't even considered. First of all, in the all men created equal, we weren't even considered. Like. Anyway, like
honestly though,
and I don't feel safe with having more black and brown police officers. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
That means coonery to me.
Girl.
But
honestly though, and that also, abolition is something that is like, it scares people.
Yeah.
But honestly, if you look at poor black and brown individuals, if you look at working class black and brown individuals, they are practicing abolition every single day. You know, making nothing, like living on, say you have 6 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. Like you are directly living against the state every single day and are surviving. Girl, that is abolition.
Just the fact that we're here is abolition. Right. You know, to even sit here and speak and have that privilege to use our voice and speak out against it. Like,
yeah,
that's power in itself. And like, you just have to build off that. And like,
and it sucks because a lot of the celebrities are black elites like Tyler Perry and Killer Mike and T.I. from the trap. T.I. It's they forget where they came from. You know, it's that I've noticed a lot with the black elites that they are more willing to align with their class than with their race. They have class solidarity, but not race solidarity.
Yeah, that's something we need to talk about.
And so so they're so removed from police violence. You know, T.I. out here looking a fool, talking about Atlanta's the Wakanda or Black Mecca, and it's like if you talk to organizers in Atlanta, they will tell you that that is not it.
Right.
But abolition is, as Ruth Wilson Gilmore says, it means just change one thing, and that's everything.
Right.
Like, the entire world has to go as we know it.
Exactly.
And I think, honestly, I think that is doable. Like, if we were to look at individuals like slavery, like when Harriet Tubman, abolition, there was black slaves against that. Like, what you mean, abolish slavery? What? Right. Like, let's reform slavery. And so we see that happening today, and I know we'll get there.
Right.
I may not live to see it.
Right.
But I'm going to be building towards it every single day.
Exactly.
So, hey.
Man, we'll get there. Right. But do we have any other questions that we wanted to cover?
I think we covered most of it, right?
We sure did.
Oh, also, if you have the word peaceful in front of your protest thing, you an op. You are an op because you already policing black individuals protesting policing.
Right, you're already policing my behavior. How are you gonna tell me how to act?
Girl, ooh. I'm gonna automatically assume you colluded with the police next time I see that. I'm done.
Like, I'm sick of walking on no sidewalk. What is that?
Girl.
Like, if you don't take over that damn street, like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Shit.
The cars will stop. If they hit me, they're gonna get. Are they not gonna get?
Girl, call insurance. Call the ambulance.
Yo, let's talk about how the police, like the cop that was supposed to guide us at the Women's March, blocked the crosswalk, so we had to go around them anyways. Y'all weren't even doing your own job.
They was helping us get to the streets. You know, I guess. It is what it is. Oh, what's it called? Bella Noche's. Well, if my girl can't walk on the streets, well, where the hell can we go?
Exactly. Okay, like, how are we supposed to socially distance? We all, like, on this little 2x2 fucking, like, no. Move around. Take it over. Shut it down.
I just think we may need to cut all of this for being such...
Let's wrap it up.
I know. Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I forgot the email.
Girl, let me pull it up real quick. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yo, that Monopoly analogy that she did. Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about it. Okay, I'm literally scrolling. I can't find it. Okay.
Any questions about today or like?
I'm going now. Okay.
We're like the outroing. Like...
Questions of the day? No.
Yeah.
Question of the day. Statement of the day is: don't be an op. Don't work with police. This is an abolitionist space, and our actions are telling of that, right?
Police is a parade.
A parade, girl. But I didn't get no candy. I didn't get no. Right. Where was the necklace?
At least give me something. Like.
Oh, okay. That's just good. Let's wrap this
up.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in today's show of Let's Talk About It, where me and Anisa talked about police, riots, protests, the works. And I think we were pretty informative today of just like how we feel about police presence at protests, what it means when protests turn into rioting and things like that, and why all of that is valid responses in the movement. So stay tuned next time and email us if you have any questions or comments or more discussion points at Let's Talk About It pod20@gmail.com.
Yep.
Bye.
See you later. You did the spirit hands.
Jazz hands. Oh my God, someone had the nerve to be like, when you run for office, like,
girl.